Evening and welcome to the January 10th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome. This is our Happy New Year's meeting, I guess. First meeting of the new calendar year. We have no public hearings tonight. Anyone have an announcement or anything from the board? Additions and deletions to the agenda. I think we would like to propose that we add under 5, the first item would be the Johnson property abatement. And this goes back to a letter that Bob Consul sent to us before they left the end of the year. So I would entertain a motion to add that item, I guess 5.1, I guess.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adding it to the agenda? Okay. I think there's anything else here. All right, we'll move right into that piece of discussion. And I'm going to let Gary handle this. This was something that Bob Consul did just before he finished up his work here for the contractor to the town. I believe he sent all of us an email on the 20th of December. And kind of got lost in the shuffle here and didn't get placed on tonight's agenda, so that was the need to put it on here. But Gary can walk through what's got to be done here.
Well, the nice thing it is, Bob's done all the work for us. It's before us, the abatements and supplemental numbers, and it seems as though as everything is in order. Essentially, the town approved a split of this lot from one account into two, but the bills for the 2014, 15, and 16 year were not split. So that boils down to, since the 14 taxes were all paid up, Bob can only by law abate the current year we're in. You can only do 1 year. So that leaves the Board of Selectmen to do the 15 and 16 years abatements and supplementals. And those numbers are before you in the follow-up sheets here. So what he's asking is for a partial abatement to Mr. Robert Johnson and a supplemental bill to Mr. Richard Johnson for their portion of the previous 2 years of taxes. And in the other two handouts there, the forms are made out in those correct names and the amounts. Alexandra Doobie is here along with her grandfather tonight, and I guess if the chair wishes, she can get up and say a few things in terms of what this issue is all about and her side of the world. But it boils down to, I think, I understand what Bob's done. You received this, I know it was some weeks ago, and you probably haven't reviewed it before tonight, but it seems though everything is in order to approve these routine requests because you folks have to do this.
Okay. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. So pretty much my grandfather and I, after my grandmother passed, were co-trustee of a property of 7 Silas Brown Road. 17 Silas Brown Road had been lived in by Richard and his family since it was first put there. Upon my grandmother's passing, there had been a court case between Richard and my grandfather of promissory estoppel for the property. My grandfather then agreed as of 2013 to let Richard have the property. However, the whole time the taxes were being sent to Richard, and that was part of the agreement that he paid the taxes while this debt was being accrued. We were not given any notice because all the bills were being given to him. So pretty much we just found out about this getting ready to close on another home and this property being sold in lieu of that. So this has kind of held up everything that he's doing to get into a new home. So what we're asking for is just that it be split accordingly and fairly. We have all the court documentation of the judge splitting. The only thing I was reading over this, is that it says that, you know, a judge had said, you know, this was a town matter. It was actually an attorney who said it was a town matter that the court really wouldn't want to hear. Only because it was split in 2013, it was gonna bring us back to here anyway, so we just started here first.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So is that clear as mud to everybody? I think the letter kind of clears it up, the one that Bob had presented. So we're abating 2 years of taxes, FY 15 and 16. 14 has been done, correct?
Yes, 14's all taken care
And
of.
we're supplementing those same years, so we're abating to Robert and supplementing to Richard,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And we're looking at, I think it's about $900, or $1,000 one way and it's $900 the other way, so,
Each year.
right, each year. So the wash to the town is less than the fee that we had to pay back in interest, correct?
You're pretty close, yeah.
So what's your pleasure, folks?
I will move we go with the reapportionment, I guess an abatement on one end and a
Supplement.
supplement on the other. I will,
Okay, been moved by John. Anybody who'd like to second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Anybody understand what we're doing? So it seems nothing, no comments. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Gordon, was your hand up or down?
no, I'm going to abstain.
Okay, 401.
Okay?
Thank you.
And we'll take care of that from a paperwork perspective.
I appreciate it.
You wait just a second, I'll give you a copy.
Sure, thank you.
You sign each one.
All right. While Gary's going through that, the next item on the agenda, which is item 5A, been brought to us by code officer. This is a request for a consent order, or administrative consent agreement. We just talked about this 2 weeks ago, about setbacks. We have another one this evening. It's been in your packet. The quiet setback appears to be 100 feet, and what was found by the Class D survey was 81 feet. So, Glenn, you want to just walk us through this?
Mr. Chair, good evening, Board. I warned you at the last Selectmen meeting that this was coming, and here it is. The abutters have been notified. We haven't gotten any reply from any abutter. I guess I don't know how this happened. Mr. Prokey is here with his builder. They might be able to describe what happened. But my letter is pretty clear as far as identifying what the penalties and fees should be. Per section 12.02, we can charge $50 a day for each day violation. There are 66 days of violation, which amounts to $3,300. Lawyer fees and administrative fees amount to $800 for a total penalty and fee of $4,100. And I stand by that recommendation.
Okay. Mr. Prokey, any comments? Okay.
I'm Roger Berube, and
Okay.
Gary, I built the place for Gary, did the excavating and everything. The place is all staked out and all that. It was a dirt road, a private road. I thought it was 50 foot from a private road. Never gave it a second chance. I measured it real quick, and it was like 87 I came up with, and I thought it was going to be safe. Then, and Glenn came there a bunch of times, inspected the foundation, the footings, and everything else, and he never caught it either till the bank come over and did a Class D survey,
Okay.
and that's why we're here.
Any questions from the board? Comments? Glenn?
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify something that Mr. Berube said. The town does not survey setbacks. That's the owner that is responsible for doing that. I don't verify setback requirements.
Okay. So we understand, I guess, this isn't the first house you've built in the town of Waterboro?
No.
This is not the first house?
No.
I know you built a few developments.
Well,
May not be- may-
first house in a long time. I mean, I built one other house just up the road here,
Yeah.
probably 15 years ago, but that's about it, you know?
So one of the issues that we're having is that this seems to come in bunches. And we did have one 2 weeks ago. We did know this one, not specifically the details of it, but knew that another one was coming. So if you do build in the town of Waterboro, again, you will have to have a Class D survey before you start.
Yeah, I do that in Northboro anyway, so.
So we
Yeah.
don't get into this after you
Right.
finish. Because there comes a point where, you know, there have been foundations moved. I'm not sure that would require a house to be moved, but that's the alternative here, so. Anything else from the board? Any comments, questions? Glenn, anything else?
No, sir.
What's your pleasure?
Can we move it back?
Guess you could do that.
It'd be easier to move the road.
So what's the board's pleasure? Nothing? Somebody's gonna make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I think
One way or the other.
in keeping with the format that we've established and maintaining the consistency that we've set up from one property to the other regarding this, I would move that we adopt the recommendation of the code enforcement officer regarding this matter.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded that we enter into this consent agreement. Part of the consent agreement would be that there will be the property owner agrees to pay the town a penalty in lieu of legal action in the amount of $4,100. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So you will be all set as soon as you pay your money and it'll get recorded in the York County Registry of Deeds and it will run with the property.
That's correct.
Okay?
And I think they're meeting with Tammy right after this.
Okay.
Where do I pay the fine?
You have to do it with,
Yep, you're gonna go with Mr. Prokey right into Tammy's office.
Right in Sandy's office?
Tammy's office, yep.
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Back
Thank
It's
you.
over behind us.
Yep, Mr. Prokey is doing this.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. I did get a bit of good news
Is there any
tonight.
more coming or do we?
Only if they're in the history now.
He has some good news now.
Yeah, I do. DEP has approved our new shoreline ordinance.
Oh, cool.
We got that in the mail today. Done deal.
For what that's worth, at least it's approved, right?
So at least it's something we haven't had in a long time.
Well, I think it's accurate to say we haven't had proper shoreline zoning since '96. Legal proper shoreline zoning.
Yep. Now we can get our map done and our walls will be full of color once again.
Okay.
The board done with me?
We are done with you, sir.
Have a good evening.
Next item on the agenda is 5B. This considers Northboro Properties request to the town. So I'm going to, I guess either Lee J. or Sean, whomever, would like to, I guess Lee J., you want to present what has at least been discussed, and then Sean, I guess you can explain further what you want to do.
Sure. Good evening, Chairman, board members. It's somewhat complicated, but what it comes down to is Sean Shoemaker and his partner have a fairly extensive plan for their property in North Waterboro. And They initially were looking to rezone the rear portion of the property to village, which it is not now, in order to accommodate their project. Their project, I would suspect, is going to be a fairly long-term project over a series of years as the market dictates and allows that project to build out. We'd like to see it happen much quicker, but you want to plan on it being a longer period of time than you expect. So in doing that, when Sean, who has had several conversations with me, so I think we're kind of on the same page with this issue, my concern became when I started reading the comprehensive plan initially, and it called out something very different than I think what a number of people recognized when the comprehensive plan was done, in that it is in a village zone or a proposed village area, but the problem is that when you read the plan, the villages, all four of them, are different. They're somewhat different in nature and what they're suggested to be down the road. And when I look at that and we're talking about redoing the zoning ordinance, the alarms go off in my head, because the recommendations for this village area are to be agrarian in nature. And it talks about really supporting the agricultural portion of the community up there. Well, this development certainly would not be agricultural in nature. It would be very much commercial in nature. It would fit into a village setting, but not the one that's proposed in the comprehensive plan. So therefore, at that point, we have really several options. One would be to go ahead and rezone the back portion of the property to village, and hope that as we get through the zoning ordinance, that the uses that are there now, or the uses that we propose in a village zone for all four villages, would accommodate the uses that he envisions for there. The second option would be to revisit the comprehensive plan and change that to be able to accommodate commercial development in an area that it calls for it to be agrarian in nature. Well, the third option is to pursue contract zoning, which basically would put the property, once a contract is completed through you folks and through the planning board, it then freezes the uses that we agree to in the contract, so that as long as that contract exists, which is the life of, as we go out further and further, then those uses are guaranteed to be able to be allowed there. So in talking with Sean, I really felt that the long-term best interest of his and for the community is, let's talk about pursuing a contract zone, because we just don't know what the zoning ordinance is going to look like in a year, 2 years, 5 years. And this way, if we can get a contract that everybody agrees to, then those uses and any other standards for landscaping or buffering will be in place forever into the future. And that's why we're kind of at this position we're at now. I know Sean had originally pursued the village zone change with you folks, and that's kind of been put on hold. And then after our discussions about the contract zone, he sent the letter requesting that process be started. Sean can certainly fill in any gaps that we have or his concerns that he may have regarding this, and be happy to answer any questions you folks have.
Good evening, gentlemen. Sean Shoemaker, co-owner of Northboro Properties. My partner Chris is tied up delivering fuel tonight, so he won't be here. As Lee J had outlined out to you, we've had some discussions about the property. I was here prior to look at rezoning the whole parcel to village, because there is a little section in the back that they are zoned. I'd like to get that done, and in the discussions, as he said, we started looking at the comprehensive plan for the 2020 plan to come out and what could happen down the road. We have long-term plans for this. We don't want to develop this overnight. This is something we want to create over time, and we want it to be something very special. In order to achieve that, and make the financial investment into the designs, engineering, marketing, and things of the property along the way, I kind of need to know that what's today will be tomorrow. I can, you know, to bring a client in and say, we'd like to put your facility on our property, and this is what we have for a plan for the entire project, that can sway someone as to whether to come or not onto the property. If there's uncertainty that this could change in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, we'll give them hesitation, I believe. And if it changes to not something that's permitted today, it may not work with what we want to bring in there if we have, you know, someone who wants to move in the next year. So in talking with Lee J, you know, we decided that the best way would be to come back and see if we can talk about a contract zone. The 2 items that we look at in this request would be to rezone that back portion to village zone from the AR zone, and I think that in talking with Lee J and Glenn prior, that I think we're all in agreement that it would be good long-term for us to create what we're going to do, and for code enforcement to be able to administer what's permitted in that zone. We wouldn't have different things that can and can't happen there. And so I think we get a little cohesion in that. And the other thing that we would request and like to do in this would be, and we're not asking for anything that's not there today. What we would like to do is try and preserve what is permitted on that property today in its current village state. Whether it's permitted use or conditional use is what we're really asking to do at this time.
So your request would be to preserve uses, right? I mean, I guess that's what this all boils down to, is uses, right?
Pretty much.
In the event that if the zoning does change as over time, be it 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, and a restriction comes up and you aren't developed out, I guess the other alternative is you could come to the planning board and say this is what we have envisioned for the next 20 years, right? And have a complete plan out. That would solve part of that, but I don't think it locks you into then whatever you present, right?
Correct.
So this would be some level of flexibility for in the future for maybe, I mean, the uses, I guess what you're going to request here is, your part of this negotiation is, you want what's there today, right? From a uses perspective.
Yeah, we'd request that we keep what the land use chart indicates is available, permitted and conditional use on that property.
And that would run with the property if it ever got sold?
It could. And the reason I say it could would be because one of the things that we could build in or should build into the contract would be that if the property ever is sold, that they at least have to come back to the select board and seek approval to continue that process under a new LLC or corporation or whatever they may be. It might be somewhat perfunctory, but at least puts everybody on notice that there's a new owner there that's going to continue to pursue the contract. The contract also is not set in stone. If anybody ever wants to, if the property owner or the town wants to somehow pursue an amendment to that contract for whatever reason, those discussions can be opened up, and that would be written into the contract as well.
Or a provision of what had to happen to open those up.
Yes.
I guess I'd like to make a comment to what he said about if this property ever changed hands, it would have to go, as he's saying, it would have to come back and get reapproved as a contract zone if we sold it, because there's pieces of this property we're going to sell off. We're not going to own it all. We're not going to own all the buildings. We're going to subdivide this. Some of it we'll probably retain and build, and some we're going to sell. So I don't know how that would all work. And God forbid something happened to myself or my partner, someone else is gonna own it. Plain and simple. We've set it up so that it's not, my wife's not gonna take it over and his wife's not gonna take it over. So I'd be a little concerned with that.
So that would be the question, does it run with the land or does it, I mean, it could go either way, right? But
Correct.
But I think we need to.
We can build, we would have the ability to build flexibility.
Part of having
into
a
it.
contract is that both sides have a stake in this, right?
That's correct.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Tim?
So the comprehensive plan is taking a different direction in this area. The planning board hasn't caught up with changing the uses in that area yet, although they're working on it. But you're asking that we would keep the uses as they are today, despite that, going forward as part of the contract. You want today's uses.
That is correct.
Despite the fact that the comprehensive plan is taking a different direction and the uses would normally be changing in that area.
They could change, and I say that because it's certainly not, my decision to make. You know, it's working with the planning board, and then recommendations to this board as to what the final version of that looks like. But certainly, if you follow the comprehensive plan, which you folks have spent a lot of time and effort and money on, it certainly spells out something different than a village as we might envision it today as a commercial area. So, I mean, that being said, you know, as we go through the process, everyone might say, we don't care what the comprehensive plan says, we want it to be a commercial village zone. And that's fine. I don't want to, you know, get off in the weeds, but that
Yeah.
brings about other legal ramifications to the community if it doesn't comply with the comprehensive plan.
John?
Is the village part of that? If that was if the whole land was the village zone, would you not be here? In other words, can you do what you want to do with the village part of that zone?
I could, but it's long term. I'm looking at long term.
Could, as long as it doesn't
What's the potential
change.
that can happen down the road and change what we can offer as for a facility?
Okay, I can
So
see.
that's
So,
why we're
in other
back.
words, if you extended the village zone, that there's no guarantee that 5 years from now it's not taken back.
Or it's not changed to
But changed to
different
something else.
uses,
I got it.
the abilities of the uses.
So your vision of this is that you're gonna keep coming back to the well, basically, and get a piece approved or a section approved, and that may take years.
What we'd like to do, and it all gets down to economics. It's not cheap to hire engineers to come in and design and go through all of these processes. Will we do it in phases? We may have to for economics. Or it may work out that we'll get an engineering firm to come in and we'll design the whole. We want a master plan for the property. That's gonna be our first thing to do, is come up with a master plan, a conceptual plan of what we want this area to look like when it's all done. And to do that, substantial amount of money. And then for us to be able to go out and market this property, and like I said before, to draw a customer in and say, look, this is what our plan is, this is what we're approved for today, we want to build this, we're going to bring you in, you're going to come in on, say, lot 1. Your potential neighbors are going to be boom, 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 other companies that will work together. Well, if that changes, and they say, well, that might not be the case 2 years from now, so we're not going to do it, we're not going to come in, because we may not mix with what will be allowed down the road. I'm fearful of that. So I'm just trying to preserve the uses that are there today so that we can properly plan this out, develop it, design it, develop it, get the approvals. And what we'd like to do is, to be honest, I'd like to move forward to the point where I can get almost shovel-ready approval for a commercial development, whatever that may be. So that when people do come in, each individual person is gonna have to come in before the planning board, obviously, and get approval for their particular, whatever they're gonna put on that lot. Whether they buy a lot, or we retain it and we build a building and put them in, or whatever that'll be. So each customer is gonna have to come in, whether that's me or them.
Gordon?
from a business perspective, I can see what the advantages are to you in wanting to do this. And to that extent, I would like to support that because I want to support business and responsible growth in the community to broaden the tax base. But on the other side of the coin, I want to know what the benefit to the town is if they were to enter into this. Because I'm sure that if we enter into one contract zoning, that opens the door for someone else to want contract zoning somewhere else. And so I want to know what the long-term benefit to the town is going to be, because I think that the taxpayers have a stakeholder and are stakeholders in this as well.
But we would end up negotiating that. Let me grab Twain first.
I'm a little confused, but that word contract zoning bothers me on what Sean's asking for. Because contract zoning, as I remember it when it went in, was put in there so that you could go into a contract zoning project and the town got something out of it. You go in and you do a study, and whatever the community in that area is required, their needs in the community is taken and given by the contractor. If we needed a school on that end, there would be a lot for a school. If we needed a town transfer station, you could justify it, a fire station, a community center, a library, whatever, that would be part of your contract zoning, and that is the way that was written. And I'm going back probably 10 to 15 years. I haven't got a date on it, but I meant to look it up over the weekend and I didn't have the time.
Well, I think the key is, Dwayne, and I can inject, is that there is, by the nature of the fact that it's a contract zone, there is something for both sides in this, right? So that's what we would have to negotiate. I think what you're teeing up here is your side of, hey, this is what I'm looking for. What we would have to then come to grips with is, okay, what is the, in order for the town to enter this
Right.
agreement, what's in it for us, basically?
Absolutely.
I would hate
Absolutely.
to, I'd hate to be in your shoes at this point and say, I want to go with today's standards, when eventually I would be in hopes that the whole of Route 5 and 202 is zoned for residential commercial use. And as you go up through Route 5, you've got as many businesses as you do residents. So that whole strip up through there should be zoned from the Silas Brown Road all the way up through to the bridge, should be zoned village zone. And if you start walking up through there, you've probably got 15 to 18 businesses that are in effect right now, if not more.
So,
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I understand what you're saying about increasing the village zone, but you and I know that's gonna take a long time for that to happen. And I can't sit forever. I need to be able to move forward, and I guess my interpretation and understanding of contract zoning is a little different than that. And yeah, you wanna look out for the benefit of the town. Absolutely, and that's why I'm here. I can put that land up for sale tomorrow and sell that to someone, and they're gonna come in and say, okay, we're gonna build this, or we're gonna build that with today's standards and what's available and use. And not really care about the community so much. They're gonna just wanna develop their property. I've been here a long time, lived in town a long time, and I care about the town, and Chris does as well. And we want to build something really nice there. But to make the substantial investment, saying what if? What happens if a year or 2 years from now it gets changed on us? Where are we then? we've spent all this money, you know, we're
It's a
trying to
worry,
bring
and you're
people
gonna
in.
have
It's gonna
feed
be a
stores.
problem. So,
Hey,
Sean, when you say we want to build something really nice there, for me to buy that and give up our comprehensive plan, piece of our comprehensive plan, for that really nice, I need to know what that really nice is and say, yes, it's really nice and it's worth doing contract zoning for. But you saying really nice as a businessman, it's maybe really nice for you, but I haven't seen that it's really nice for the town. So you gotta, for me to think about, okay, contract zoning, we go an exception to our comprehensive plan, and it's worth it because this is the project that we've got, and we feel the town needs that project, or definitely benefits from it.
Jim,
Well, John kind of covered what I was going to say. I mean, you could think, instead of contract, you could say it's a partnership. And I think in order to sell that to the board and to the public, you know, we need a concept plan. We need to know what you have planned for that area. And, I mean, do you think that's unfair for us to look for that, or? I mean, you can be uncertain about what you're doing, and maybe you should come back in some other time once you have that. But I mean, how expensive would a concept plan be just to have a general idea of your plans for that lot?
and we can do that. This is all preliminary. That's why I'm here. I mean, because we had this discussion, and that's why I'm here.
I'm gonna throw a nickel in there. The planning board, I didn't quite agree with what they was doing as far as the lookings of the buildings and whatnot. Sean's got a piece of property up there, abutting the Clarksbridge Road and Route 5. And if he puts a buffer on Route 5 and faces those buildings towards the Clarksbridge Road, he ain't gonna meet those standards that the planning board just got passed, because those buildings are facing the opposite direction of Route 5, and as long as there's a buffer out there, he can get by without that design standard ordinance that we just passed.
So let me try and address that for you in a couple of different ways. I agree with you exactly what you said, except for the fact that if we were to do a contract zone, that would be one of the requirements.
That was my nickel.
Yep. Right. The other aspect is that even if you give us direction or give me direction to change the comprehensive plan, and we want to see just a village district out there that's no different than at 5 and 202, or no different than South Village, you know, south part of town, we can change the comprehensive plan to say that. And then when we get ready to deal with that village district up there, we could write into the ordinance the requirement of the design guidelines to be used in any master plan development. I mean, there's a number of ways to do those types of things based on those concerns. I think, you know, we're looking for the guidance. Do you want us to draft a contract where I'd sit down with Sean and Dennis and try to come back with something that's good for the town and good for them?
it's Chris, right?
Chris, I'm
Last name's
sorry.
Dennis.
I apologize. Or
The two first names.
yes, you know, change the comprehensive plan so that the village zone that would go up there in the future would be compatible with the other villages throughout the town. I don't have a problem pursuing either way, anything you want to do. It's the point is that the way that's written right now, to protect the town's long-term interest, it isn't going to do what Sean wants to accomplish.
The word contract,
Yep.
that's the only thing that I can see that is gonna benefit the town of Waterboro, is that he's got to meet the standards that the planning board just put on design standards.
And I have no
whatever.
issue with that
No.
whatsoever.
But there is a flip of it, that with a buffer, you haven't got to meet those.
Right.
You're right, currently the way it's drafted.
Tim?
Well, that's another thing too. I mean, we spent, what, 6 years on the comprehensive plan. We sold it to the voters. They approved it. And now we're gonna just change that. And I think that's where a concept plan that we could sell to people would come in. I mean, something attractive that people would want to change that zone for. And I think without that, it was kind of like a big piece of this is missing.
Okay.
We have no moratorium on a smoke shop, and on one end of it, you know, right now, you can get a permit for a smoke shop.
No,
No.
not marijuana smoke shop.
A smoke shop.
Go
A
ahead,
nice
I'm
cigar
sorry.
bar might work out pretty well.
To some extent, I agree with Dwayne on contract zoning. It's, you know, it's usually give and take, as you look at things like how is law enforcement going to be impacted by the amount of traffic that this place might generate. So you build into the contract something where you compensate part for that increase, or what's the stress going to be on the fire department having to respond up there either for medical or fire. Those things are incorporated within a contract. It's so that you get the contract, the town gets the benefit of something that offsets. Now, is that correct? Is that your understanding of
Oh,
contract
that's,
zoning,
no, that,
too?
absolutely, that's correct. I mean, it may be that if he's got, 4 phases planned over the next 10 years, that phase 1, there may not be any requirements of him, but we know that phase 2, phase 3, there are going to be impacts to the side roads, so we may have to, right up front, say you're going to need to expand the roads to include a left-hand turn lane and a right-hand turn lane. By the time you get to phase 3 or 4, it may be that you have to provide a check to the town for X number of dollars, or assist in the construction of a fire barn in the north part of town. There's a million different things that can be put into this thing and negotiated in a way that benefits both parties. But yes, those are all parts of this process.
Okay.
And in
So,
fact, if you look at Article 13 in the zoning ordinance, 13.04B, it lays out the whole contract, and there's an A through J, which are really the base pieces of the contract that you need to negotiate. And it includes general statements like that, and then it's up to us to get into the nitty-gritty of what that may be.
So that's the true benefit to the town.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
so I think Tim is, I think he brings up a good point, is we need, I think before we can truly get in and have a serious discussion on both sides, we need some concept of what it is that you see, okay? That doesn't, I don't think you gotta go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on, architectural or artist conceptions or anything else, but I think we probably need to look at, okay, here's what this could be, and to John's point, nice, right? So I think that's gonna have to be at least part of the starting point here, is what is it that you envision, right? And I don't think you gotta spend tons and tons of money to present that to us, but at least that's to me the kickoff point, right? Of what is it? And I understand if we pass the conceptual plan and it becomes an agrarian village zone, it's okay to sell, bagged manure and, feed and those kind of things, or I guess you could probably have a bed and breakfast as long as you had horses to ride or something. I don't know, but the fact of the matter is that's going to drive it in a very, very specific direction, and I think the planning board will have to revisit that when they sit down and look at, okay, why did the North Waterboro Village contain this language?
Right. Either that, or we amend the comprehensive plan, which you can do.
But I think there's got to be some kind of a kickoff.
Village zone is village zone, so anything that's in the village zone that can be created in East Waterboro can be created in North Waterboro, or
But not if
if
North,
it doesn't have water.
but not if the way that the comprehensive plan was set up, it's an agrarian, farm-oriented
Correct.
businesses, right?
Correct.
But-
So,
And you are correct under the current zoning
The
scheme.
current zone, and
Current
if he
zone,
came
you're
in
right.
here, he can build anything that's
That's
allowed in the
absolutely,
village zone.
absolutely
as-
right.
As long as, there's public water.
No, public water doesn't have anything to do with it.
Well, public water will downsize your lots.
No, to 40,000 and 80,000 square feet for the lots. Under 1,000 square feet of sales area, you can build down your size unless you use more than 1,000 gallons a day of water. It doesn't, public water doesn't impact in the village zone.
That being said, you are correct, Selectman, that under the current village zone, there's one village zone throughout the town.
Right.
And what goes on in South Waterboro can go on in North Waterboro.
Yeah.
No worries there. Completely agree. The issue of concern is what's going to happen 2, 3, 5 years from now when full implementation of your comprehensive plan goes in, because the comprehensive plan calls for different villages in different parts of town doing different things.
I've been here 58 years, and that comprehensive plan is just a guideline.
Yeah.
That is nothing as
It's-
far as a Bible or a zoning book. That's a guideline, and that's only to guide you in the right direction, hopefully. But
Yes, hopefully, and you're absolutely right, except for the fact that if there's ever a lawsuit and the courts say, what does the comprehensive plan direct the town to do, then they're going to use that as their baseline for any legal actions that could occur.
Plus, the planning board can change the uses in that area when they redo the ordinances.
They could.
that's right.
They could.
You know, I wasn't involved with the comprehensive 2020 plan, I didn't involve in it at all. Didn't know anything about it. I went to the public hearing, they explained this stuff. I have to say that the clarity of the explanation of these 4 different zones, I think they went about it the wrong way. They should have called them something different. Don't call them village, 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 and village. Because everybody that I've asked them, are you under the interpretation that there's actually 4 different village zones in this comprehensive 2020 plan? They're like, no, they're village zones. No, there's 4 different ones. So they really probably should have changed that, because I didn't understand that
That's
there was gonna
certainly
be 4.
something that the planning board's gonna have to come to grips with.
You
Yes.
know, so I didn't understand that, and when we sat down and Lee J explained it, I'm like, wait a minute, they're not all the same?
But I understand,
You know,
I
and
understand where you guys are coming from. You wanna be able to say, hey, this might take us 20 years to do. We would like, whatever's available to do today, we'd like to be able to do, you know, in the year, you know,
Yeah.
2037, right?
But we'll
So,
certainly put a plan together and say, this is what we'd like to see. Does
but I
that
think
mean
that's
it's
what's
gonna
gonna
be
get
in
kicked off,
stone?
and then there's gotta be some back and forth of, hey, this is what they're looking for, and this is, might be what we're looking for. I mean, if you ask the 5 of us up here, you're gonna get 5 different opinions, but, so, I think they'll have to come to some level of workshops that we can at least sit down and say, okay,
Correct.
what is it? But, I think I would agree with Tim and John that we need at least some straw man of a vision anyway, you know?
And we can do that. We can do a layout and say, this is the roads, and we've kind of laid them out now, and this is what we'd like to see for buildings. However, I'm worried about being stuck to that, because I may get a customer that comes in and that's not the design of their building. Although their building would work fine within our new design standards, I need to have some flexibility. So that's my apprehension there. Other than that, I know exactly what I want.
I don't know what
to
you
see.
got for acreage, 40 or 50?
Hmm?
How many acres up there, Sean?
27.
27.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, because somebody may need 2 acres, and the next guy may need 6 or 7, depending on what he's got for a parking lot or what he's gonna put up for a building.
And if we could do it a different way than contract zone, I mean, right from the get-go, I didn't really, that wasn't, and Gary knows, we sat and had the meeting, that's not where I wanted to go. but I just gotta find a way to preserve what the ability
Well,
to do today is for down the road.
You gotta, there's a little bit of rolling the dice here. If you just say, hey, put the rest of my lot in the village zone, then you're really rolling the dice to say the village zone will never change during the length of
Correct.
development, so.
Correct.
Tim,
Do you think that would require a public hearing if we were to enter into a contract, like change that zone like that?
I would think.
It seems like it would. So again, you know, it would probably require a public hearing. So again, I mean, you're gonna need to come in with something you can sell to people. And I think the approval would be based on,
Only if you change that
Right.
village, the A&R to village. That requires a public hearing.
right. And I mean, as far as the
As
contract,
far as
so.
the
Well,
contract,
the contract is, I'm not sure what
we
comes
might
with.
want to run that by Nancy.
Under it says in the ordinance that the planning board shall conduct a public hearing prior to any property being rezoned under this section.
All right, so that would have to be done.
Yeah,
How many years are we gonna be dealing with here? Are we gonna be dealing with 20 years? As far as...
To build out?
We can actually get it approved or anything we've done? I mean, we've been a couple of years now.
No,
And I mean,
we'll
nothing,
take
you
that.
know, and so, I mean, why are we...
We'll work as fast
Yeah.
as you guys want to work, but there is a process that we have to go through.
And we
Yeah,
do that,
and I understand that, and we wanna work within that process, and we wanna keep it smooth and
who's
cohesive.
the other guy? Is that the other guy?
Yeah, that's Chris Dennis.
Okay.
You know, we wanna make it work for everybody, absolutely, without question.
Chris.
We're not trying to circumvent anything, we're just trying to preserve what's there, and the understanding of what we bought and what we had the ability to do, and then I go to a public hearing and they discuss these zones, and I really wish they'd have clarified it and changed the names and didn't call them all village zones. Because I left there understanding that the village zone land use chart that's in place today would stay with that, and you might make modifications for additional things that weren't in there, that were in, you know, in your wish list of the comprehensive 2020. I didn't realize it was gonna negate everything that's been there in that land use chart. And that's what's
I'm
of a
not sure
concern to me.
that all of us understood that either.
Well, I'd apologize, but I was not part of that
He was not
process, so
part
I
of it.
can't represent that that's what was said. or
Be
not
that
said.
as it may, I think we understand what you're looking for. I think it's, if you can start by sitting with Lee J, and I think that at least starts the churning of, okay, what's gotta go back and forth. We're gonna certainly have to be involved in it, and,
As well as the planning board.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, you could say, I foresee a small hotel and a restaurant, in da-da-da-da-da. Okay, that sounds great. But then you get a chicken coop motel with a Mickey D's, next door, not good. That's not what I had in mind. So, you know, if you get that specific, this is kind of what we're looking at, and then we can sit and say, okay, this is what we would think would be nice in that part of town.
it's all the definition of
Or
nice.
not
isn't it?
in that part of town, in
You're not the
Waterboro.
planning board, John.
Right, it's the definition of nice.
What?
It's the
Well, that's,
definition of nice.
yeah, that's why I said nice.
I mean, if you put standards in, you've got design standards, obviously that's what we're gonna have to work within. I gotta tell you that if Mickey D's comes tomorrow and wants to buy a piece of land from me and build it, why wouldn't I?
They
Why
built one
wouldn't
next to
I?
the
I mean,
Vatican.
that's just
so-
the bottom line. Why should they be allowed to build only in one section of town and not somewhere else? That's benefiting a particular individual, not benefiting all of the landowners within town.
If
That
we
have
have-
the same rights as that landowner.
With our design standards, we're not gonna have 100-foot golden arches, you know?
Anyway,
So be it.
I think certainly the request has been received. I think that really gets tossed over to Lee J and Gary, and we coordinate it. I'm sure we'll have to be back at, you know, a few workshops and hammer this out, and the planning board's gonna have to be involved, and, you know, whether they have, you know, a handful of people or the whole planning board, and whether we do the same thing. I think you know, we need to work through it and see what's in the best interest of both parties. That's really where we're headed here is, but that's not gonna happen tomorrow, but I think if we can get it, the ball rolling, then we have a shot of at least coming up with something here in a reasonable amount of time.
Does the board and the planner think we should go in a different direction than discussing contract zones?
Maybe
What-
I think.
what would be this-
I think maybe once we get this aired out a little bit with some planning board members and whatnot, that may very well be a place where some suggestions might come out to look at other alternatives.
I can put that on the agenda for the next meeting in a generalized sense and ask them if they'd rather pursue a contract or pursue an amendment to the comprehensive plan to address the village issue.
Right. And I really
You've got
think-
our interest anyway, yeah?
I would like
I
to
think you just
be
gotta-
at that meeting, so if they have, you know, I'd like to.
We'll have it on the next agenda.
Okay.
Is it next Wednesday?
18th.
That meeting has been
No.
postponed.
Oh, that's
to
right. I apologize.
19th, because there's
That's
a
right.
workshop in London on
Right,
shoreline
so
zone.
it would be February
No,
February
I
9th.
think he just said they pushed it to the 9th.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
having
to
a
the
workshop
19th, to Lyman Town Hall.
in Lyman,
Okay,
Yeah,
so there will not be any meeting here at all.
all right.
that would be.
Make
very
sure that
good.
you stay in touch with
Yeah,
Sean.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Like I said, we have long-range goals, and we want to make it nice, we really do, but it's just hard to dump the kind of money you'd have to dump into the engineering and everything and go through the process,
Yep.
and to see it all change a couple of years from now, next thing you know, we got nobody that wants to be there.
Correct.
Because it doesn't work with what's there.
I think it has the potential, if people get excited about it, if they like what they see, I mean, it could just be a groundswell to make the changes that you want to make.
I agree with you, because I don't want to have a nice-looking place initially, and then you drive by 3 years from now, and there's just vacant buildings sitting out there.
With grass growing up.
Doesn't do either one of us any good.
No, doesn't. And we want the right clients in there, we want the right mix for the town, and we'll be good for everybody.
All right.
Okay, thank you
Good,
for your time.
thank you. All right. Moving on, public comment. Anyone wish to speak? All right. Correspondence, treasurer's reports, motor vehicle and excise reports are in the packet. If anybody's interested in reviewing those, reports and staff initiatives, selectmen's reports. I'll start down that end. Dwayne?
I got none to speak of. If any of the elderly still need a bucket of sand or two, either call the town office, Gary, and I'll see to it that somebody gets them a bucket of sand with the ice that we've had this winter.
Tim, I know you had a meeting, you went to last night, so.
That was a combination of the new marijuana stuff, which is just hopelessly muddy. But I think the bottom line is that for us, I don't think we need to take any immediate action by the looks of it. Another thing was the consolidated courthouse. A couple weeks ago, Senator Woodson said that he would look into it, and good to his word, he is trying to advance legislation that would either keep the courthouse in Alfred or have them address the questions about the expense to the county. And if anyone can send him an email in support, which he needs in the next 4 days, his address is dcwoodson@gmail.com, and I guess he's really going out on a limb here, and he could use all the support he can get. And I think that's the kind of representation that we need in Augusta, is someone doing something like that. Thank you.
Okay. John, anything?
Had a garden committee meeting last night when it's 7 degrees out, and had had a majority of the people there, only one person absent, which is amazing. Anyway, they're looking into creating the budget for, and they're looking, I think at this point, for upping it by $50. But there's no major changes in there except looking at upgrading hose, because you put hose out there and people are using it every day, and you go through a hose in a half a year. So need to get hose that are a little bit more durable, and a lot of other discussion about the upcoming year. It was a pretty enthusiastic group for the weather.
Gordon, anything?
I'd just like to thank my fellow board members for picking up the slack during the time that I had some medical difficulties, and I appreciate that, and keeping me posted on the events so that I could stay current on things. So
Okay. There you go. I don't have anything other than that Eco-Maine, we're just getting ready to finalize budgets going forward there and for this fiscal year, so budget committee meeting later this month there and whatnot. The other thing before I forget it, because it just came to my mind, but there's evidently an effort going on, and there was legislation change that allows municipalities to take over the ownership of streetlights that are today we rent from CMP.
There's been some action there by several towns.
Right.
Yes.
And there's, I think the article that I saw that South Portland and Scarborough and
Falmouth.
Cape, it was Falmouth, yeah. Like, it's a 3.5 to a 5.5 year payback to put LEDs up, but they're taking responsibility, so CMP no longer owns the lights, the municipality does.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you
CMP
wanna-
for a long time wouldn't allow those LED fixtures, and then after that they charged all outdoors for them, and now this is another change.
But the state law changed that allowed municipalities, I guess you can take ownership of them, so you have to put them up and take them down and maintain them. You can do nothing, pay CMP that exorbitant price every month to rent, or you can have LEDs put up and have CMP maintain them, and I don't know, I think all of those come with a different price tag, but it might be something that you want to look at as you start
Each
your
one of them
budget.
streetlights, and this was probably 10 years ago, was $30 to $35 a month per
Yeah.
light.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
No,
Sometimes
They
there's
don't pay for,
rebate.
they don't pay for usage,
yeah,
but you pay for every light that's out there, whether it's on or not.
yeah.
Right.
what's our advantage if we were to install our own lights and have them solar powered? We'll put a solar panel up, and then we wouldn't pay anybody.
I don't know. Guess you'd have to look
You'd
at
have
that
to look
piece
at the
of.
payback on it.
Yeah,
That's a big that's a big battery.
The other thing that I think we're seeing, you see more and more of are these stoplights that blink and whatnot, and those are all run by a solar panel. and
yeah,
whatnot.
they have a little small solar panel on them. That's what I thought originally, that when that email came out, but it turned out to be the speeding sign.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you go to Beach Ridge,
yeah, Holmes Road has got.
yeah, the Holmes Road, you get down there, you can see that out really far
Yeah,
distance off.
the yellow sign that says stop ahead has
Yeah,
got
yeah.
blinking all around the
And then-
peripheral,
and then
and
the
then the
stop sign.
stoplight has got.
No, it is like a 12 by 12 solar panel
Right.
that powers that, and those are little LED lights.
All right, now that we beat that up. How about your report, Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a new year, let's talk about elections. The public should know that nomination papers will be available March 15th for Selectmen, School Board, and Water District vacancies. And as stated before, our election will be Tuesday, June 13th, and annual town meeting will be Saturday, June 17th. We have a workshop a week from tonight in this room, January 17th, at Town Hall here concerning the fire station addition. As we remember, it did not pass with the voters, and the selectmen want to take another look and see what's next in addressing the needs at the fire station.
And that starts at the fire station.
Yes, I'm sorry, it's not here in Town Hall, it's at the fire station. Thank you, Tim. Good catch. Unfortunately, our assessors have left us as of the end of December. Alex got a full-time job at another community here, and Bob cannot be in 3 places at once. So I've posted that job for a full-time position, 32 to 40 hours per week, and I've left it open without a date certain. The position will remain open until the ad comes down on the MMA website. Budget preparations for the FY 17-18 budget have started. The Budget Committee will continue to meet at 6:30 on Thursday nights. With the exception of the second Tuesdays of the month, the meeting will start at 7 p.m. because that's the same night that EDC meets in this room. They do want to video record their meetings, so David and I will be working together to record those meetings for a later broadcast. And we didn't leave enough time last year for the Budget Committee and the Selectmen to have joint meetings of more than the last minute. So my goal is to have all the Budget Committee recommendations done by March 17th, so you folks will have essentially a month to meet as you see fit together. Concerning DOT information, we got a letter in. David actually gave it to me, I think it was yesterday. There'll be an RFP out for bids for rumble strips to be created in Route 202 from Straw Mill Brook Road north on 202 up to Mast Camp Road, shortly before Hannaford and Woodsum Feeds. That will be done, I assume, this spring, summer, and you can see Dave or myself for more information from DOT on that. Well, let's talk about marijuana now. As we know that the voters have spoken, and it's going to be probably legal for personal use, although there's still some questions on the federal side concerning that. I don't really see any benefit to the town to allowing retail marijuana stores, social smoking clubs, cultivation, etc., businesses at this time. And in my mind, we have 3 options. We can continue to do nothing and wait for the state and federal rulings before either allowing or prohibiting these businesses. We can proactively pursue a temporary moratorium like we've seen a lot of other communities doing. But I think everybody knows that most of those moratoria are going to expire before the state has their act together in terms of regulation and process and forms. There is a local approval that's going to mandatorily be part of a state approval, so we can justifiably say no to any of these businesses now because the regulation and the process still is not there. I'm ready to prepare, if you wish, prohibition ordinance language, working with Lee J, to prohibit marijuana retail stores and other marijuana-related businesses. The question failed, 55 to 44 in Waterboro, and I think it's time that maybe we should have a good, thorough public discussion with the selectmen and the people in the town as to what what we should do in this regard. Do we want to prohibit these? And if you wish, we can put it on the agenda for the 24th to see if there's other public comments and for you to give staff direction on this. Another reminder that Wednesday, January 18th, the York County Commissioners are having a public hearing on the new detox center proposal at the jail. Wednesday, January 18th at 4:30 p.m. in the Commissioners' room. Commissioners' meeting room, I should say, which is not at the new jail, it's at the old jail on Route 4, just a hop, skip, and a jump from 202. And that's it from me. Thank you.
You're talking emergency management building now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got the official title.
So I saw your note with regard to that, so is that something that they're putting into this budget?
That's in the next budget cycle, as far as I know. They're proposing it to be, yes.
And they're gonna build it?
Well, they're using the now vacant women's facility that's right there on the left, that's standing there today.
Okay.
They're already advertising some of those positions. They're just looking finally for the money to
So
run.
they've made the decision they're gonna go ahead.
I don't know how they do that without funding. They certainly don't have it in this budget. So.
Okay, anything else, any comments, questions?
Just one thing on the, there is a sample ordinance that MMA has.
That's the one that you sent out?
And there's another one too to prohibit the shops and retail that they've already researched and just fill in the blanks.
Okay.
I've got a question on the medical building down here on 202 and 5. I believe that was tax exempt when that was built.
it is for certain pieces of
The
it.
whole
right?
piece parcel wasn't it?
Some of it is taxed. I think we went through this.
Like condos.
We now have, or as of March, we will not have a doctor
Right.
down there. I believe Dr. Wallingford may be staying there in behind the quick care, but there will not be a doctor other than the quick care. I believe that this whole building is now taxable. They have not met any part of what they promised us when they moved into town. And I think it's time that they're down there making money off every resident. Our ambulance is down there 2 and 3 times a day. The fire truck's down there. It's costing the taxpayers money for that building to be sitting there at this point. We're not getting any great service out of it, other than the service that we're supplying Southern Maine Medical.
Let's find out. I thought the last time that I checked, and again, that part of that building is taxed because it's leased out, like to the pharmacy. But I guess we'll have to shake that out.
But if that's gonna be a vacant building, that is not
Yeah, I
a
guess it's,
service to the town of Waterboro by any means, and they have no intentions of trying to put another doctor in there. They're-
Well, they say they do. Question is, when can they find one?
Well,
But they don't need elsewhere more.
I was told more than 3 times out of that building that there is no intentions of ever putting another doctor in there.
well, maybe let's get our ducks in a row and let's have a little chat, I guess, with Southern Maine Medical. Or Southern Maine Healthcare.
Healthcare.
Which is really Maine Health.
Yeah,
Which-
Maine Health
which
is
Which
the
is really
parent.
Maine Health.
Parent
Which is Maine Health, and it's a big organization that is, at this point, I believe, tax exempt.
Well, it's at some point in time, you know, you can't consolidate, or you can't pull all these hospitals together without closing down
Yeah.
facilities, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no new business tonight. Old business, we're gonna talk about the personnel policy, discussion on drug testing language and possible changes to the town contributions to healthcare.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I know that's why David is here. Maybe that's why Doug is here also, I'm not sure. But I did photocopy, I knew we were gonna have a variety of other business, so I just took a couple of pages from the personnel policy. Status essentially what it is now on the drug side. And I'll pass the health insurance out when we dispense with this one. David said he wanted to come here and talk about his aspect of driving and DOT and that sort of thing. Dwayne has mentioned some statements about how deep we should go in terms of drug testing for possibly all employees. So I think this can be a wide open discussion of what we think we should and should not do, if anything different from now.
So today, since how we've got the former and the current, today we don't have any equipment that requires an employee to be in a quote-unquote drug pool, correct?
We will next week when we buy the,
So,
Okay, so once the truck is here and someone is licensed to drive the truck, right? We're gonna have to contract with whomever it is locally here to put them in a drug pool, right? To meet the DOT requirements. So I guess the question is, that we batted around here the other day was, what about the rest of the equipment? And I know that the DOT, and especially only because I'm familiar with it on the aircraft park side, that you make a new part and not be drug tested, but you can't make a repair an old part. You have to be drug tested, right? So we're kind of in that same thing here, right? We've got somebody that just because of the class license they have got to be drug tested, and yet somebody else can drive a loader and not have to be drug tested, right? From a DOT perspective. I guess the question is what is it that we want to do?
In my mind, there's more to it than that, Dennis.
Okay.
We all, look there.
Yeah.
I mean, you chaps can sit right in front of that microphone, and that way you won't have to move.
We have a few other entities in town that I feel should be considered for this as well. And I'm not 100% familiar with what the rules are with firemen, but we have trucks in the fire department that are every bit as complex and as heavy and as dangerous as what a dump truck is. And I don't think that firemen have to be tested.
They're exempt.
They're exempt, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I disagree with that, and I've always disagreed with that in the fact that they don't need a CDL license either. But we also have a daycare in the other building, and I honestly feel that maybe we ought to consider that something that should be under this drug testing. We have other people that handle lots of money in this building that maybe we ought to have in drug testing. I feel that drug testing, with the way that we have talked about it so far, and I wasn't at that meeting, I'm sorry I missed it, is not covering but one thing, and that's somebody that's going to drive the new dump truck. And I think that, to be fair, and maybe the word shouldn't even be used, it should cover more. That's my opinion.
I don't know that man that's driving that dump truck's gotta be on the drug.
Well, I think
Because I
there are,
don't think he needs a medical card, because that truck ain't gonna go 150 miles
that's
from
correct.
home.
It's
in the
100
course
air
of-
miles.
Yeah, in the day, but I do agree, David, and to be fair, I feel that every town employee should be drug tested.
I agree.
And that way, it covers the fire department, it covers the men down to the dump running the heavier equipment, it covers your men running the backhoes and even that 1 ton, and it doesn't matter, maybe we have no problems at all today, but who knows about tomorrow? And if you're in a drug pool of, as you say, the daycare, the fire department, the public works, the town dump, the town hall, I don't feel that we need to start picking and choosing. It's time to do all of it or none of it, because you've got to be fair all the way around. And I realize when you start a drug pool like that, it's going to be some cost to it, but
there's
we
also,
need to be fair to all employees.
but there's also requirements, okay? You can't just randomly say, well, we're gonna put everybody into a drug pool without substantiating why those jobs require it. In other words, and I know, and I'm only speaking from, the aircraft side, you couldn't pollute, you couldn't what they would call pollute the pool, right? Or saturate the pool by adding just more people into it, because it would mean that instead of 1 in 100 people getting randomly tested, now there's 500 people in it, and it's 1 in 500. So there had to be a requirement. It has to be a requirement to randomly test them. All right, you can have a requirement, as I think they still do at my previous employer. Anybody that walks through the door has to be drug tested. They cannot get a job there unless they're drug tested, right? But from a random drug testing perspective, it's only those people performing safety-sensitive work. Now, I'm not sure how, from a DOT side, because it's all DOT, even the aero side, does the qualification of I'm running any kind of equipment other than, you know, or is that one specific
It's one specific.
license requirements that say?
No,
you have to-
you're right, it isn't required on loader operator or an excavator operator, but there are quite a few construction companies that are doing as you said. You hire on and you sign this paper and you're in drug testing, or you have to be tested.
You have to be
begin
tested,
with.
but it doesn't mean that you're in a
That's
random
correct.
drug pool.
That's
right?
correct.
So there's two different requirements. One is you can't come to work at this company unless you can pass a drug test, right? Drug and alcohol, because that's what they test for. And I think there are some guidelines for, okay, which are much more open relative to that versus, well, you gotta be in a random drug pool, right? And I think you'll find that the requirements for that are very specific, right? Of this person, if this person is licensed at this level or is performing safety-sensitive work, they have to be in a random drug pool. And I know that, and then if that driver's in a random drug pool, that driver's supervisor is supposed to be in that random drug pool too, all right? So, I mean, it does kind of snowball here, right?
Like I'm saying, and also, drug pool, and then every now and then in that pool, they'll call for an alcohol test.
Right, and
the
that's-
supervisor or somebody has got to transport that employee
And there's X
for
amount
the
of,
test
right.
and bring him back.
X amount of percentage of the people that can pull for random now get checked for alcohol as well. You had a question, Julie, or?
I've got a statement. After our last meeting, I went on the MMA's website, and you may have also. There is quite an extensive article, it's 6 pages. Mandatory drug and alcohol testing for certain municipal employees.
Yeah.
And you can have me tested. If you have a policy and it states, you can have the firemen tested. They do not need a CDL. That's stated by Maine state law, and it's also covered here with the Maine state labor laws, states in this article, that you can have everybody, it's in your own policy for a municipality, that you can have everybody drug tested in the pool. If you don't have enough people to keep your rates down, it goes even in farther to showing how to join other organizations to get a larger pool, and going in and training an administrator of that to go testing. And it even states that with the medical marijuana, yes, it's approved here in the state of Maine, but if you go in with your federal DOT testing, it's not legal. But it is quite an interesting article, and it would be even following on to, we have a bus driver that drives, we rent a bus. That driver should be tested.
Are the drivers tested today down at RSU?
He would be a school
Oh,
employee.
no doubt.
We've had one on our payroll.
Right, for the moment, we don't do that now.
No, I know we don't, but
You're
we
right.
did have one
Yes,
on our
the bus
payroll.
drivers.
So Doug, you must have multiple people that are in, you have to pay for a service, right? Your drivers would be in, would meet the definition based on what DOT says, correct? So as a private company, you have to.
Our policy's pretty straightforward. Every individual we hire has to be drug and alcohol tested and done minimum health check inspection, okay? If you have any defaults, serious problems, health issues. But we are in a state, we go through Workwell, right out of Sanford, okay? And we're tested periodically. I was just tested the week before Christmas, I think it was. And we never know from day to day who's going to be tested.
you have one person who's in charge of that represents the municipality or the company that you're in. That person gets notified and schedules, they notify the person, and a time is set up when you're going to have employee X, Y, and Z show up there. You can't tell them ahead of time.
Right.
They come into work at our place at 6 in the morning, and you say, be back here at 8 o'clock. We gotta look at your truck, okay? And or we wanna look at your excavator or something. They come back, you load them in the vehicle, you take them over to work well, and they get tested. One thing that there's a great misconception of, and something that I never approved of, was if you have somebody that's on this, what do you do about it? You are required to, by law, to pay for drug treatment for these people.
Right.
Okay? I've been through that. Did the drug test, did everything, the person did everything they were supposed to do and promptly quit. And you have no right to notify the next employer if somebody calls up for a recommendation for that person. You cannot say, well, they just went through a random drug test. You can't say anything. Everything remains sealed. So in that regard, I think the law is flawed because nobody ever knows it. This person got drug tested by us and they were done. The last one we had do it. They were done, okay? They quit the next day. The next day they went to work for somebody else. They required them to get drug tested. They went in and got drug tested. You got drug tested twice in 3 days. Of course they were clean. But, when you look at the various people who need to be drug tested, the law is again flawed. You take this ladder truck that you got right here, it's probably more dangerous to drive up the road than a triaxle loaded with gravel. It floats, it's top heavy, it's a considerably different thing, but by the Maine State Firemen's Association got exempted fire truck drivers, which really should never have happened because you got people who are incompetent who are driving vehicles in many positions. Go ahead.
That doesn't mean that it can't be in our personnel policy that they can, the state saying no, they don't need to be, and that's the firemen's union that did this.
Technically, if you read the law, you can require them to be drug tested, and the law says anybody that operates a vehicle over 26,000 pounds, 26,001 pounds, and has air brakes is required. Or anybody that operates a vehicle with a trailer with a license registration exceeding that is required. A lot of people will buy vehicles. You see them going up and down the road, these trucks that are delivering, and you'll find that they have hydraulic brakes so that they don't have to meet the requirements of the air brake. And not only that, but we have to be air brake tested. We have to be certified to adjust air brakes. And these are all things that people who don't get CDL licenses don't have to do. So, you've got, the taxpayers of the town of Waterboro have, I think it's very easy to say several hundred thousand, and I think well over $1 million worth of equipment that's rolling up and down the road here. And, you're going to have a brand new truck, and of course the driver of that's going to have to be CDL and going to have a drug test and all of that. But, you've got a lot of other equipment that's running up and down the roads that the drivers should be drug tested. And how far beyond that you go is up to you. But I think everybody that gets hired any place today should be drug tested. And I think this deal of, well, I got a medical marijuana card, if you've followed the news at all, or if you've read any of the stuff that's come up, you've seen that there is a huge discussion right now, not only in this state, but in a lot of other states, about what is the limit and how are they going to test the amount of marijuana that you have in your system. So, you know, at some point, even these people with these medical marijuana cards will be tested. A guy pulled into my yard probably 6 months ago, and he rolled down the window, and I thought, my God, what ails that truck? There's something stinks in there. He's calling garbage in it or something, you know. I've never been around marijuana in my life, and he said, what's the matter with you? I said, your truck stinks. He said, I've been puffing marijuana. So he says, don't worry about it. Right on his windshield, he's got a thing that says, I have a medical marijuana thing. Well, he was high in a kite. He could have got out of that thing and flown. But, you know, even them people should have to have I mean, they should be tested, and if they're under the legal limit.
It's like alcohol, okay? And I mean, and I think that's where everybody's struggling here. You know, the state sets a limit on you blowing a breathalyzer if you're over, what is it, 0.08, right? You can set it, or point.
In that article.
But no, 0 for drivers.
Right, for
1. 0.01 or 0.02?
I thought it was 4.
No. It's either it's something like 2 or something. I don't know.
Well,
but it's very low. Not 08 used to be, but that's for non-CDL.
But I guess my point is that that is a measurement that can be taken, and I think the struggle is how do you determine how much THC or whatever it is, or TCP or whatever the hell they have, which is the element in the marijuana, but. And I know the policy that we had was if you suspected somebody, if a supervisor suspected an employee to be under the influence, he had the right to take them immediately to medical. Right?
That's drugs or alcohol.
I think that's the big, you know, when I
That's up to a supervisor or a foreman.
when I look at this, you don't want anybody on the road or on the job that is under the influence of any drug or alcohol. So how can you do that? The only way I think you can do it is test the person every time they come to work and make damn sure that they're not under the influence. Well, that's impractical. On the other hand, you get a person that has an alcohol or drug problem. They're going to take chances. They're going to get caught sooner or later, but the problem is it's oftentimes later, and they can do a hell of a lot of damage. So then you have the drug test come down and say, okay, my chances of going to work and getting drug tested are 1 in 100. Hey, you know, I need my buzz. I need my drugs, or I need my booze, and I'll take my chances. That's the real problem. I think the tests have a limited amount of do a limited amount of good when they're random like that. The big thing that you said is any supervisor, anybody suspects any kind of alcohol or drug involvement at any time, you ought to be able to immediately call for a test.
They can. That's
you
part
have
of the
to.
law. We have to do that. If one of my employees walks through the door and we think that for any reason, you know, by odor, by their actions, by any reason at all, you think that they are, you know, under the influence, I guess, I don't know what you call it, somebody smoking, you call it under the influence? Impaired. We have a number, and I go to the person who, in our organization, who handles this. They pick up the phone and they call this number, and they say, we have an emergency requirement for a test. We'll be there in 15 minutes. They said, we'll be waiting for you. Okay? We have done that we have done that, okay? And tested them, and, you know, I don't know what else to tell you, but I think that you gotta have I think you gotta have, if you took and implemented a drug policy, and you said, okay, we're gonna implement a drug policy, and we're gonna have a, you know, nobody was tested when they were hired, so we're gonna have a one-time test for everybody here, okay? So over a period of time, you test everybody randomly for one time. And then everybody who is going to drive any municipal equipment, I mean, that load of backhoe going down the road with somebody impaired is just as dangerous as anything going, I mean, to yourself and to everybody else. And so I think that a policy like that is got to be.
And I think,
And it's the same way, Doug, even if it's on a job site and it's not really out on the road, with this new equipment that we've got, and we're loading, unloading, ditching, and I'd hate to be with somebody like that. And
I think Dave brought up a good point. We've got Parks and Rec people, we've got transfer station employees that are running a compactor that, you know, has the potential to be very, very dangerous, those kind of things. So I think if it's our intent, then first of all, we have to develop a program. We have to administer the program, just like you have to administer it. You've got a book that says this is how each one of these things will be treated. I think that's what we have to establish, and I think that's what this MMA paperwork talks about. Once you've established that, I mean, the first requirement is that you don't come to work for the town unless you pass a drug test. That's an initial drug test. Then I think, I'm not sure how you qualify who or who doesn't go into the random pool.
Do you have to have a pool? I mean, I can understand when there's requirements for it, for the drivers. But I mean, could you require that every new person be drug tested and then have the ability to have someone tested if you think they're impaired without being in a pool?
Once you have a program,
Yeah.
then you always have the ability to say, I think you're under the influence, I'm taking you for a
So out of
test,
fairness,
okay?
that would cover all employees.
So that would cover everybody. The randomness, and I think that becomes a requirement of, I don't think you can just throw, you gotta justify why that person is in a random pool. And it could be, he's operating dangerous equipment, he's driving, equipment. I for one, I think if we're gonna do it, you would put the fire department into it, right? So you start to look at the breadth of the way this looks, and you've got a fairly substantial amount of folks that, would be in a program. I'm not sure, and you could go to somebody in one of these administrative groups or whatever to find out, can we just put, I'm not sure you'd put everybody into a random drug pool, but
well, you could
certainly
when you get all said and done, but when you first got started, you're gonna have an initial cost.
Yep.
And it may be the first year, it may be the first 6 months, but you can state how many of these employees a month is gonna go for a drug test, random, and Doug will probably agree with me. When I went to work for the state, the first year and a half, I went for 4 drug tests. I was in that random drug, and my name came up, and one of the other guys came up, and he and I went 3 times in less than a year. This will happen. It ain't because you're not trusting them.
I managed 200 people that had to be in the pool, and I got pulled more than any one of the
Yep,
employees.
I mean, some of these employees may go twice in a year, and some of them may only go once every 2 years, but it's a random pool, and it is random.
So I think the first issue is,
It keeps them honest.
Are we serious about saying we're gonna go to another level here, And then I think you have to pull all that data to say this is a cost associated with it.
Yeah, it's about $90 a person.
So,
For up to
you're gonna have X amount to screen everybody coming in, and then it's a matter of, whatever the random.
There's a trucking outfit here in York County, and he's got many trucks. And I was talking to him the other day, and he's always hiring, but he is now requiring the applicant that comes in for a job to pay for the first initial test. And
That's good.
he gets,
Guess if it works.
the employee gets his money back in his first week's pay if he passes the test. And he said, you would be amazed to the ones that want to go take that test and can't pass it. He said, 3 out of 10 won't pass the test. But he said, that's getting them off my payroll, and I don't have to pay for the first initial test.
Couple
If they can't.
Go ahead.
Couple considerations. One is, I think if you train supervisors and others on maybe field sobriety tests, on being aware of being able to pick up in sobriety. Then the other is, as far as the fire department has a unique situation, you got 6 employees there, but you got 30 people working there as coming in from outside. So, and these people drive trucks. And then there's another issue that makes it even worse. You have a whole bunch of volunteers that may be sitting home on a Saturday night, had 2 or 3 beers, and a call comes in, and they make a decision, do I go? And if I go, now I've had alcohol and I'm driving a truck. Or I got people's lives in my, so they got a special, concern.
But it's no different than if you were in that pool, and I can remember calling employees that, to try to get them back in on a weekend to do inspections or whatnot, and I'd love to come in, but I went out to dinner tonight, right, and I had a few. So it's a pass. The guy, he coming in.
He has the right not to.
Right. So,
yeah, I mean, that's said and it's clear. However, people still have to make that decision. And they say, oh, I've only had one. Or you say, okay, make the decision, I haven't had. The only way I'm responding to a call is if I'd had nothing. But not one, because one could be a triple scotch. I think I think they know that, but still, I think the people that are, let's say, on the scene and volunteers are coming in need to be very aware of behavior, so that they can say, I suspect you've had something to drink. I need to take you out of here.
So I guess you're gonna have to gather that information. What's the cost? What's the program cost to administer? You're gonna have, as Doug had mentioned here, if somebody fails, they gotta go to a substance abuse professional. You gotta pay for it. Then they get, I think 3 strikes you're out, right? I think.
2, I think.
2, you're right.
With the state is 2.
Well, this is all to do with company policy too. Right. But one thing, I don't know what pool municipalities fall into. Do you know that, Gary?
We would use Workwell.
Yeah,
that's the outfit.
What pool do you fall into? We fall into a pool.
Right.
Okay? Now, I don't know how many people are in this pool, but it's not just Foglio Incorporated. It's not Waterboro Sand and Gravel. We're in there with the Pepins, the Genest, all the Genests, Hassan. There's maybe 1,000 people in that pool.
Well, I would think there would be hundreds in the municipal as well.
But there's more than one pool. Mm-hmm. So they put kind of like companies in a pool, and they draw a percentage of them all the time. You talk about getting drawn. I got drawn twice in 16. Okay? and might have got drawn a third time if I hadn't been in Florida, okay? But, and then I've got guys that haven't got drawn for a year and a half or maybe 2 years. I don't always know when they're, because I don't manage the drug program, but I don't know how big a pool the municipality would be in. But one question I think, Dennis, that has been my way of thinking for some time now is, yes, it's gonna cost the town money, but what is it gonna cost the town if we have a serious problem? If we get into somebody that's had too many drugs, if we get into somebody that's an alcoholic, if we get into a lawsuit, you know, if somebody gets seriously injured or killed, how much is that gonna cost the town? And then how are the people in town gonna react toward the people who didn't do something when they could have? And now, with this recreational marijuana, I think it's stepped to the front of the line. I really think it's stepped up there. We can say, okay, we're not gonna sell it in this municipality, but under the recreational, you can have it in your house, you can have, I don't know, some kind of a plan or some, however they do that, and you can, I guess, make your own smoke or something, or chew it, or drink it, or whatever you do to it. I have no idea what you do with it, but you can do that. And so, I mean...
Yeah, and it's no different than alcohol. I mean, if once this passes and gets on the books, it'll be no different than, okay, I chose to have a few drinks tonight, all right? Or I chose to do whatever, eat or consume or smoke or whatever. That's a conscious choice that an adult makes, right? There are consequences for that.
Yep.
Driving a car, right? If you have a place of employment that requires that it's a drug-free and blah, 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 right? That's a choice that you're making as an employee, right? As an individual. So I don't think it's gonna be any different. I think the problem with it is it's gonna be a huge management. I don't know how are you gonna tell?
I mean, you know where you are with 2 beers. You know if you've had a big bowl of spaghetti and a glass of wine, or 2 glasses of wine. You don't know where you are if you take 1 hit off a marijuana cigarette. You don't know. So now, how the heck do you control that?
So I guess
I will make a motion that Gary do a little more investigations here and come up with some type of a budget that needs to go to town meeting. This isn't something that's gonna happen overnight, but, and if you need some help, then holler and we'll get what we need. but-
that we move forward with presenting it in this budget cycle?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we pull all the numbers together, present it in this budget cycle in a town meeting and go from there. It's gonna take some work, and it'll take some time to put together, but.
Well, just one thing that I think, if you watch the news at all, and I think it was in Sanford, they've been having this epidemic on drugs overall, but the number of people that are smoking marijuana that are laced, they're getting it somewhere illegally, and it's got other substances mixed in with it, and it's doing tremendous amounts of damages to people and makes them, it's not marijuana, it's
The
what's that?
drug overdose.
It's some other drugs, PCBs or whatever that stuff is they mix in with it, so.
Okay,
Okay,
so all those in favor of Gary pulling that stuff together when we present it, opposed? All right, so we did some additional marching orders there.
And I guess I'll make, we don't need to hash that family health insurance out too far here, but I would make a motion at this point that we come up with the figures and that go into a budget and go to the finance committee and back to the selectmen, and we decide whether we can afford this or not.
Right, so I would put together what you would recommend, right?
Okay.
And let the budget committee thrash that through, and then we'll thrash it through.
Last week, Gary said that it was something that really needed to be done to keep the employees aboard and afloat, and if we need to do it, then we're gonna
About
have to.
5,000 a family.
Yeah, but we need to put this all into a budget so that the finance committee can look at it and we can look at it, and if we need to cut it back or cut it out, then we can do that at.
Everybody in agreement with that? Do we add that, at least the budget process, screening process? Okay. I don't think we need a vote.
Consensus?
How many policies did you say they can choose from?
Right now it's 3.
Okay.
I'm thinking of taking it to 1 and we just tell people what we offer,
That's it.
That's right, yep.
because this has been beneficial to us.
All right. Dedication,
Thanks, Doug.
dedication of the town report.
Yep.
I've come up with a couple names, or maybe 3, but just throwing them out on the table. Earl Gray just passed away here about Christmas time. Gary Morrow, both of those boys were on the fire department in the 80s or so. I was talking to David earlier, and Gray had mowed the cemetery for years and years, and worked very closely with David over there on that. And Sammy Woodson is the other one that Sammy lived here in town for many years and coached baseball and trucked kids all over the countryside. But those 3 names, I don't know if anybody else has got any other names, but Sammy moved to Limerick about 15 years ago, but just over the line. He was a fire chief, coached baseball through the 70s and the 80s. So there's 3 names that have passed away that I came up with that have donated a good many hours to the town.
I didn't hear the 3 names when.
Earl
Can you
Gray,
come up?
Earl Gray.
Yep.
Have you got any others, Doug?
Gary Morrow.
Gary Morrow
Sammy Woodson.
and Sammy Woodson.
Okay.
I think you've got, just let you know, you want to be careful. We've gone out, it's getting pretty slickery out
Is
there.
it raining?
Snowing.
Is it?
Snowing, and maybe change it to rain.
Freezing up.
It's white, but, you know, you talk about this drug and alcohol business, you know, every snowstorm that there is, we meet all our drivers as they come in. Because, you know, you never know, they don't know. Those guys are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from November until March. And if they, you know, if they're going out tonight, they say, you know, can you take my spot? My wife and I are going out to supper, and we find somebody else to fill in. And so, you know, there's a lot of planning that's into it, even for a small crew like us. So it's not easy, but it needs to be done.
Thank you.
I think, considering the nature of the accident, I think Earl Gray is definitely right at the top of the list for me.
Yeah,
Not-
Gary Morrow was, they were firefighters, right?
Yeah, both of those were firefighters, and they was both about the same vintage years, because Gary was, I think, a year older than Earl. But, I mean, there's 2.
Yeah, I
Men that
can't,
worked very hard. The only question I
I've
have
got
is
the last thing that you sent out that had everybody, right, I mean, that was in it. I just don't see any names of people that would have been significantly involved in the municipality or those kind of things, so maybe we look at those 3.
Doesn't
The
have to be
only
just
question-
one, right?
The only question I have with Sam is, I mean, he did move back to Limerick, but He
Well, I
did
guess
do a-
we
He did do a lot of baseball
Yeah.
in this, when the ball field got started over here, Sam was right there. And,
We can do that, or we can do the two guys that were firefighters, junior firefighters and whatnot, and dedicated to them
those two
too.
would, I mean, I think those two would work very well, so. it's up to the
Interested in doing
board.
that? Gordon would do the two young guys that passed away, Earl and Gary Morrow, both came up to the firefighting ranks, right? I mean, I'm sure that they
He
were.
ran into the firefighting. Of course, Gary's dad was a fire
Right,
chief
right,
for
right.
quite some time, so.
You okay with that, Tim?
Yes,
Just do the two, and we'll dedicate, kind of do a, if we can get maybe Matt to structure it a little bit, like,
Comment.
yeah.
I've got a lady that said that she would help on Earl's.
Okay.
Good,
Uh,
we'll need that.
Brenda Dyer said that she would take that as soon as we got something worked up somewhere near and take it to the family and have it proofread, so
Okay,
she did tell me that this morning.
all right. Anything else on town meeting? We're looking for reports, right? So if you're out visiting your committees, just kind of remind everybody that their town meeting report needs to be put in. All right, discuss vote to approve minutes of the 27th meeting.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Was John here? Yes.
He was
John
here,
came in,
but,
yeah.
Gordon wasn't.
Abstain, I
Nod
wasn't
wasn't
here.
here, yeah.
Gordon wasn't.
I knew it was.
So, 401.
Yep.
Pending decisions, the comprehensive plan task list, week's action list, we've resolved the, I guess Gary's got plenty to do. We've got to sign those. I need to sign the abatements and the supplemental and the consent agreement. Anything else? What about next agenda items for next go around? We're gonna bring back a couple things here, right? Oh, wouldn't it be nice to bring in our number 2 deputy?
Kevin Collins here.
Yeah, so
Sure.
like an introduction, put him on.
How about the sign? I think everybody's agreed that Gary should go ahead with that transportation sign, but
Yeah. You already have that, don't you?
Transportation.
The speeding sign.
Oh,
Radar sign.
yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
with you. It's-
yeah, everybody, I think, chimed in that
Yep.
likes that.
I had made a recommendation that maybe this new sheriff, David, there'd be maybe 3 or 4 be trained on this sign so that if somebody's gone, we can, as I told Gary, I would be more than willing to go to the transportation in that 4-hour course as a selectman in case nobody's around, but
That was another reason I was hanging around to let Gary know that I was willing to do that.
yeah.
I keep forgetting to talk to you about that here.
Now, those are solar powered, aren't they?
Yes,
I think so.
battery, yes, solar.
Yeah, solar only.
Yeah,
I don't think they, well, maybe you can plug them in.
so it's totally solar powered.
But I think the sheriff's gonna be running radar and that, if you stuck that up there for a week somewhere and then he can run the radar the following week, he's gonna know pretty near who's coming through. It's amazing what that machine can do today.
Yep. Okay, that all being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Not yet. I think there's the abatement too.
Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Then moved,
Second.
seconded. All those in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? Good night,
7:59.
Irene.